This morning on Today's Pets, a warning for animal lovers and a very personal story for me. Recently, my assistant Amanda Bushy and her husband Keith went on vacation, and they left their 2-year-old Labrador Retriever, Sushi, at their regular boarding facility. They asked for him to be groomed before they picked him up a week later, but they never imagined that something like a routine bath could end in tragedy. Keith and Amanda knew something was wrong the moment they arrived at the groomer to pick up their dog, Sushi.
As we were entering the building, we heard the screaming from the back. This woman came running out in a panic on a cell phone. And I looked at her and I said, "Where is my dog? Where is my dog?" Because I heard her screaming his name. And she said, everything's fine, but clearly everything wasn't fine.
They found Sushi lying unconscious in the grooming area, and he was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Devastated, the Bushies returned to the groomer looking for answers.
Our dog had been in something called a cage dryer that we had never heard of before, but it's basically a cage with a heating element that the dog is put in to dry after they've had a bath. All I kept thinking was, this looks like a microwave.
Keith took photos of the dryer and its control panel, which had been set to 100 degrees for 30 minutes.
I don't understand why any animal would go in a machine at 100 degrees for 1 minute, let alone 30 minutes. I'm angry that they even have these machines because personally, I just don't see why they're necessary.
Yet experts and animal rights groups alike agree that kennel dryers are a safe and useful grooming tool, as long as they are used correctly.
These dryers are used in grooming salons across the country. The most important thing is that these animals are never left alone in the dryer. They can be used safely, but the animals have to be monitored all the time.
I've dried thousands of dogs in the kennel dryer over the last 16 years and never had a problem with any of them. It's just diligence. And then by putting this leash on her...
Salon owner and grooming instructor Will Ruckel showed us the safe way to operate a cage dryer.
The maximum I would set it for would be 80. It's warm, but it's not hot. I'm going to check my temperature on the setting here. It's about 75 degrees. I'm going to put the timer on for about 20 minutes, but for safety's sake, she also, I would come and check in 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I have a station right outside the door. I can see her at all times.
Other groomers choose to use the dryer without the use of heated air.
It comes with 2 settings, basically. You have a fan only, and then you have a setting for heat. Since I can't personally see that dryer, I personally feel safer using it without the heating element.
The concern for pet owners, say experts and grooming professionals, should not be the equipment being used, but rather the people using it.
The cage dryers are safe machines. They are just in the hands of people that have either not read the warnings on them, not read the labels, or just get in there and turn them on without regard to the dog, the breed, or the physiology of the dog.
The challenge with grooming right now in this country is that it is very poorly regulated. In many areas, it's not regulated at all. And so you are more likely to find someone who maybe hasn't had adequate training. So it's so important that when you're looking for a groomer, you're very careful and do your own checking to make sure that you're dealing with a good situation.
And Joey Villani is the owner of the Nash Academy Dog Grooming School and a judge on Animal Planet's Groomer Has It. Joey, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You heard a lot of groomers in that piece say that the equipment is safe if used properly. But why these dryers? Why do you have a setting that can go up to 100 degrees when there's no way that would ever be safe for a dog?
Well, I really can't answer that question because it shouldn't. We actually take the heating element out of the ones that we have in the school, and it runs on just whatever the room temperature is, just so fresh air is blowing over the dog, and it's a comfortable temperature.
So why, and I understand you believe it should never go higher than around 85 at the most? At the very most.
At the very most. You know, like a comfortable breeze if you're sitting at the beach, but not a real hot, strong breeze.
Well, why are these dryers so prevalent? Is it a matter of just getting dogs in and out quickly?
What it does, it gives the groomer the availability to do more dogs in a single day. Unfortunately, most groomers don't know how to use them. There's certain dogs that can't go in a drying kennel even without a heating element, like flat-faced dogs, like pugs and boxers. They're not supposed to go in there at all because they can't breathe when air is blown directly in their face.
And yet they are put in by some groomers. If you don't know, you're going to put them in. And as they said, some people don't know what they're doing.
Unfortunately, it's an industry that's not licensed yet. And we've been trying for years to get this industry licensed end, but it hasn't. As much as we've been trying to move forward, it seems like we take 3 steps backwards.
And why is that, do you think?
You know what? It goes in front of the states, and I just think there's so much on their plates that it's, you know, pushed to the side.
So what do you do? I mean, poor Amanda and Keith, they lost their dog, and the reason they even did this interview was to make sure it didn't happen to another animal. I have a dog. I go to a groomer. What should I do? What should I look for? What should I ask?
You have to ask questions. First, the groomer really should be asking you questions. They should be professional. The place should look and smell clean. They should ask you to tour the facilities. They should show you where the dog is going to be caged, what the procedures are going to be. They should be asking you questions. If they don't, ask them. I mean, get a little bit more involved and say, okay, you know, what's the procedure here? What are you doing to my dog? And if they're reluctant about showing you the place and taking you in the back, walk away.
Okay, and also, it's not just cage dryers. First of all, I don't want to imply that all groomers are bad, because they are not. But it's not just cage dryers to look out for. Also, when the animal's on the table, don't they have some sort of...
It's called a safety. We call it a safety loop. A lot of people call it a noose. I like calling it a safety noose. It sounds better. But if that's not adjusted properly and has a little bit of play in it, when a dog jumps off the table and that snaps, it'll break the dog's neck. Groomers need to be within hand's reach of the pet at all times.
All right, Joey Villani, thank you so much for your insight. Now let's go back to Matt in Washington.